We heard the Prime Minister today saying you're not going after hunting rifles and shotguns.
He did.
Then why are there hunting rifles and shotguns on your new list?
Well, I'm going to get to how we're tackling the problem around gun violence and specifically AR-15 style guns. But first, I want to underline why.
I'd like to go back to the specific point that the Prime Minister says you're not going after hunting rifles, you're not going after shotguns. We are now seeing an amended list with what target shooters and hunters call hunting rifles and shotguns potentially being banned. Why are we in this situation?
Well, I think it's important to recognize how our legislative process works. So this is a bill that was put forward by the government. It's now being studied by the Standing Committee for Public Safety.
But, we've heard from some people who study this and write about this that say it's been done in such a broad way, it's going to essentially capture every deer hunting rifle that's out there, every moose hunting rifle that's out there.
Yeah, I dispute that. I dispute that. There's a number of ways in which we're tackling the problem. First, there are those assault-style rifles which were banned in a series of 1990s regulations. If those guns are commonly used for hunting, then they will be exempted from the definition.
So let's go with this one, the SKS, that Evan was talking about off the top of the show. Very popular hunting rifle, well used throughout the country. Yes, it was a military weapon in 1945. I mean, that's 70 years ago. So that's not in the same category or capacity as an AR-15 would be today. Under this as written, a lot of hunting advocates say the SKS is going to be banned by this. I mean, what do you say to those concerns about that particular popular, primarily hunting rifle?
Well, you said it yourself. This was a gun that was designed for a battlefield. It was designed to ensure that the greatest amount of lethal force could be exercised in the shortest period of time.
And the SKS, yes, it was built for a battlefield, but a battlefield of 75, 80 years ago. I mean, how far back do you go? I mean, the Enfield was the most popular rifle for the Allies in the First World War. I mean, but that's a century ago. So, I mean, how far back do you go on this? It has evolved in its purpose to be a hunting rifle as opposed to a battlefield weapon. It's not used by the military anymore. So are you being overly broad in going after a rifle such as this, which is used overwhelmingly for hunting in this country?
Look, it cannot be disputed that the original purpose for this gun was to be used during a wartime, not to be used in a community.
But in 1945.
But still, that was the original purpose, and we can agree to that. That is a fact.
Something like the SKS does have a place in communities, right? I'm sure if I went home to St. John's, I could ask my friends who moose hunt and stuff. Some of them may very well have this weapon. Certainly maybe in the Inuit and Innu communities of Labrador, they may have this gun as their prime form of hunting. So it belongs in community. It exists in communities, right? And this is the concern, is that this was a piece of legislation designed to deal with a handgun ban, which is now expanded into dealing with hunting rifles that are in popular use. And based on the original language of banning assault-style weapons, no one conceived of them being caught up.
David, we've been up front right from the beginning of tackling this issue of gun violence, that we were both going to ensure that we took additional steps to get assault-style rifles, including AR-15 style rifles, out of our communities. What we're really trying to do is embed the order in council as part of the criminal code so that a future government can't repeal it, which is precisely what the Conservatives have said that they will do. And we think, frankly, it is wrong.
There is a big divide on this issue between urban and rural Canadians, right? And the Liberal Party is primarily, as constituted now, a party of overwhelmingly urban members of Parliament. And it seems to me that there's a lot of talking past each other on the issue of gun violence, which is a real and legitimate concern, and on issues about the SKS, for example, which is a very popular hunting rifle for people who don't necessarily live in, like, Eglinton Lawrence, for example.
Not within our caucus, and I really want to give a shout out to the members of rural and northern and Indigenous caucus who have been speaking up on behalf of their communities. And I know how important this is to them, and that's why I have said to them, and I've said, frankly, to the other opposition parties, that we will work with them.
And saying, oh, no, don't, this is conservative fear-mongering, there's no hunting rifles on here. But now, of course, we know, of course, there are hunting rifles on here and shotguns. That's been widely established and recognized by hunters across the country, both in the Indigenous community and non-Indigenous community. So now, they're obviously feeling the heat from hunting communities. Now they're backtracking and saying, oh, well, we're going to look at it now. So which one is it? Is there no hunting rifles on here, or are there? So they're not being very clear with Canadians, and I feel that they're lying about this.
Here's part of the challenge, I guess, and I pressed them on this a bit, but just because a rifle is used for hunting doesn't mean it's solely a hunting rifle. Do you know what I mean? It could have capacity that goes beyond the requirement to be a hunting rifle. So would you accept the possibility that a weapon that is popular by hunters may also need to be banned because of the legislation to deal with assault-style weapons, as the Liberal calls them?
I think that hunting rifles and shotguns that have been used widely by hunters for decades are hunting rifles and shotguns. They've established that by using them safely. These are licensed, trained, and tested and vetted Canadians and Indigenous hunters. You mentioned the SK SKS in that earlier segment with Minister Mendicino. That is one of the most popular firearms in the country, particularly in Indigenous communities, because it's affordable and it's good entry into hunting. So you're going to ban something that's almost ubiquitous in the hunting community. That's a hunting rifle ban.